That's like you kept telling me the other day how much you hate Andrew Huberman. You keep talking shit on him, and I was like, "Whoa, JT, chill. You're talking a lot of shit on Huberman." I'm like, "Chill out, bro." But yeah, so it's probably hard for you to
Leave
listen.
Hubie alone, bro.
That's probably it.
Leave Hubie alone.
Oh, that poor man. He made a mistake talking about low back pain. He's getting slammed.
I'm glad we're talking about crowds for this episode, bro. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. Now, I've been actually wanting for crabs for a while. Like I've been wanting to go to buffet. Buffet's like the best place to
I
get
can't tell
some
if you're
crab.
being serious or if this is a bit.
It wasn't serious at first, but then I was like, wait, no, I actually do want to go. Oh man.
Oh my god! I was like, is this real?
I'm sorry.
Is this real? Or are you messing around right now?
My mind is just going crazy right now.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Let's bring us back. I'm sorry.
You look hungry as hell, dude. My bad. Just
Let's
dreaming of
eat.
garlic butter. All right, let's eat. Let's eat quick. All right. On today's show, we are talking about getting outside of your comfort zone in the training space and opening your mind up a little bit. So becoming a little bit more open-minded as a coach, as a practitioner, how we've done it, why we've done it, reasons why we haven't done it, and life kind of forced us to be a little bit more open-minded. But JT, what are we hoping that the folks listening walk away with here, questions wise?
Yeah, 2 questions. We want to make sure you just, once you hear these questions, you can literally just turn off the pod and that was mission accomplished. So first question is, what are your experiences that led you to become open-minded? Second question, how can this make you better? What does being a better coach mean to you? So those things all tie in with getting out of your comfort zone. And hopefully by the end of the show, you have a better idea of how to answer that for yourself. That's always our goal. And we just share, our thoughts, our experiences, and what we've seen in the field. And at the end of the day, you just have to answer those questions for yourself, because we don't really have answers, but we think we do. We'll do our best to do that anyway.
What do you always say? We want to be directionally right. Hopefully we can get people moving in the right direction.
Right direction. Be better.
Be better.
That's all we got to do. So
yeah.
You came to me about this.
Yeah.
My ears perked up. It was one of my favorite things to think about.
Wrote a ton of notes that had no direction, and
they do.
Here we are.
They're all directionally correct.
Here we are talking about them now. But yeah, I was teaching an event last week, a week-long mentorship course, and thinking about one of the coolest parts about this particular course that I was teaching is there's a lot of collaboration between coaches. So it's a small group. Coaches are all working with the similar or the same kind of clientele, the general population, but all with different backgrounds. So some with collegiate sport backgrounds, some with military backgrounds, some with personal training backgrounds, some with, all the above. And basically, getting to collaborate, design programs together, coach each other, all that stuff. And that was one of the coolest pieces about this course in particular, is the fact that there's just a ton of collaboration. And in that, a lot of people were saying, this is really cool, like to see how other people would do things, how they would solve problems, how they would change someone's mood, how they would design a program for a specific goal. And it's different than mine, right? And there was definitely instances where people were like, yo, I'm stealing that. I love that. Can we talk about that more? And there was instances where people were like, hey, I wouldn't do it that way at all, but like, you kind of cooked there. I see why you did that, right? That makes sense, the way you explained it. So I was thinking about, like, all right, like, first off, if you've never been to a course like that, stop playing, come to an exercise education event. Just hit my line. But second off, how can we bottle that up and do that by ourselves? Like, knowing that, like, I've been at sites where, there was 2 coaches, and at the time didn't have a super big network of friends or coaches, like, who were, really passionate about the field. So it's like, how can we bottle that up, the idea of collaboration, and try to learn more from others? And I think it's just like finding different ways to get outside of your comfort zone and explore other aspects of the field. Because one of the things I kept saying was there's a wide world of fitness out there, and a lot of us, especially early on, are just scratching the surface and we don't even know it. Like we think we're like, oh shit, I got it, I'm deep in it. And then it's like, yo, here's a book from 40 years ago. They were doing it 40 years ago. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, damn, what? And then it's like, oh, then you find this resource and this resource and this resource. And then you're starting to like kind of expand your view of the world a little bit more, like kind of brick by brick.
Yeah. So, what is it for you personally that was there a time where you felt like, oh, I need to get out of my comfort zone, or I'm not as open minded as I think?
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't want to say like I was the most open minded coach to start. Paint this perfect little picture of young Phil, but I think I was pretty open minded to start because I came up in CrossFit.
Hmm.
So I was like at a strength and conditioning gym that was also a CrossFit gym. That was also, they did like weightlifting and stuff too. So I think being in CrossFit in 2013, 14, 15, like around that time, you were definitely looked at as like, especially the strength and conditioning coaches, as like the black sheep of the industry for sure.
Sure.
Right? Like this training's nonsense. These people are stupid. Like kind of no respect.
Hmm.
And I would say generally speaking. So I think that pushed me further away from like quote unquote traditional strength and conditioning, like to a fault. To the
Yeah.
point where I was writing like high school programs without any sprinting and plyometrics in there. Like I pushed way too far the other way, but it did allow me to see like a lot of cool stuff. Like, people, 225 snatches for multiple reps. Like that's crazy that someone could do that. Touch and go. What the hell? Like, push me really deep into gymnastics and learning a ton about gymnastics and body positions and just generally teaching body awareness to people. Push me a lot into concurrent training. Like now all the hybrid stuff super cool and sexy, right? And at some point we'll definitely talk about that on the show or have someone on to talk about that on the show. But like CrossFit kind of been doing that since 2009 to a certain degree. Like they might not have been running triathlons, but they probably could have. A lot of those athletes could have. So that I think at that time got me to be a little more open minded. And then it wasn't until I got hurt a couple times, like like pretty regular back injuries, like small back injuries from heavy squatting and things like that. Just too much too soon, like aggressive progressions, not a lot of rest.
Hmm.
And then like moving across the country, COVID happened, goals kind of change, and that was like, you know what? I want to find a fun way to move my body.
Yeah.
Like, so that led me then to search down all these different avenues as far as like movement and training goes to better find or to best find something that made sense for me.
Hmm.
Like what is something that I will continue to do? Because I couldn't like, hard weightlifting training like just wasn't as fun anymore and wasn't as practical. So it was like, all right, let me find something that I will actually enjoy doing. And it actually led me to the stuff that I would have looked down on in the past,
Yeah.
right? That I just wasn't ready to learn.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's so cool to hear that story because I just see the evolution of young Phil and the evolution of his goals, and that's
Yeah.
essentially what caused that that effect of your curiosity to different things. And I think looking back with any young coach, like I don't expect any young coach to be open minded. Like it's hard to. It's like
Sorry.
I'm. It's really difficult to just come out the gates as a young coach and like, oh, I want to learn everything. And this is like, and until you do, maybe you find one thing, and then you're stuck on that one thing because it's giving you the success that
Mm.
you want at that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at some point, you might end up just having to be, even if you start open minded because you don't know anything, you get stuck on one thing that helps you, be successful to whatever you think success is, and then now you're going to be not open minded as much when you
Yeah.
look down that road. So it's funny to hear that. And for me, that's the same story of like, if I recall, I remember like if I think I learned ollie lifting because that was the first thing I learned as an intern, in college,
Yeah.
and like I'm pretty good at this, bro. Everybody's gonna be doing this, just like what you
Yeah.
say with CrossFit. And When you're
Yeah.
good at something, you teach somebody, and you're like the prophet of your group, and you're like, I'm I'm shit, bro.
This is the
Like, come
way.
on, I'm the shit. You know,
Follow me.
and that's what happens when we. I think that's what allows us to be even more, not less open minded, but more um, attached to the things that we do, like the methods that we do. Like when we're really good
Ooh.
at it and we teach it to somebody, and their success for those people that we teach it to, then our ego just naturally starts to increase. Or like we built up that
Yeah.
persona that we think we are, and at some point, like like what you always say, we're not as open minded as we think we are if we
Yeah.
don't really take some time to reflect back and like
Yeah.
reflect now to see
Right.
how open minded am I? Like we think we are, but it's not a matter of yes or no. It's how open minded are we to get to the point where we want to be.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be a scale, and I'm sure there's some I'm sure there's a psychologist out there who's developed an validated open mindedness scale.
Sure.
I did not find that in my brief looking, but I'm sure there's definitely one out there for sure. I'm just looking in the wrong place. It's definitely not on the Journal of Strength and Conditioning. But yeah, like you said, like we're definitely not as open minded as we think, and there's no way to be unbiased. Right, like you physically, you can be less biased, you cannot be unbiased, like just as a human being, like you can't be unbiased, it just can't happen, right? Like it's a natural human tendency. um and I think like you might be the most open-minded one in your group or in your space, but looking back on a lot of the things that dictate the models that we use to design programs and create plans for people, it's based on bodybuilding and weightlifting. Man, it's when you look at how people are designing programs, it's still based on bodybuilding and weightlifting. Like
Mm-hmm.
the models we're still using the same models. We're still using the same old track models, generally speaking. It takes time to move the needle, right? And the field that we're in is young,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to change, especially like you said, when someone is doing something that's working for either for them or for the clients, or better yet, for both. But what would you say? What would you say is the difference between kind of niching down and finding your target audience? Like, hey, I just work with tennis players. I just work with developmental tennis players, right? I'm niching down all the way. What's different from that to like basically our experience where it's like, this is my thing. Like this is the best method for whatever. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
the one. It's weightlifting, it's cross or whatever. Like everyone's getting this and every other method is stupid.
Yeah. No, it's a good question because I think we have to separate first when it comes to niching and marketing. Like that's a whole nother avenue of that almost is a deeper conversation of from a marketing standpoint and how you present yourself in this niche.
Yeah.
I don't think it represents a lot of people's actual, you know, open-mindedness in the media.
Or like
But
their
with
philosophy.
yeah, so I think with at least looking at the niche versus, hey, this is my method, the difference is a matter of how aware is your method, or do you have a way for your method to be proved wrong, or your niche to be proved wrong, right? Are there
Mm-hmm.
ways, because at the end of the day, like you have to improve over time.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal of this. Like if you don't want to get better, then you don't really need to get out of your comfort zone. You don't. If you think you're at your place of being the best,
Yeah.
okay, this combo is not for you. But if you want
You're
to get
probably not
better,
listening to the show.
yeah. But if your combo, I mean, if your goal is to get better
Yeah.
at your niche or your expertise, then there has to be ways for you to get out of your comfort zone,
Mm.
right? And I think that's really the question of what I brought up earlier, like how open-minded are you in order to get better? And if I'm a niche, or if I'm a coach that really focuses on player development for tennis, some information might not be as applicable. And I think
Yeah.
that's just how you should approach it. Like some are, some aren't. But you can't just say like whatever I have right now on paper is the best because I don't know. For me, it doesn't make sense to say that. Like there is no best. I think that's for me. It doesn't make sense in my mind.
Mm, yeah.
Maybe some people might disagree based off of how much revenue they made, and I think from that is the value of what they or what they place value on now. So what do you
Yeah.
think?
No, I love that. I like you brought up the kind of the idea of falsifiability,
Hmm.
right? So like if can your method be proven wrong? So is it falsifiable, right? Like if it can't be proven wrong in your eyes, like hey, there's nothing you can't tell me shit. This is it right here. It's burpees for fat loss. Like you can't tell me there's a better way. Sorry. Like if that's how you think, then you basically have a religion. Like if there's really no swaying you, then okay, that's not a very scientific or analytical way to think. But go crazy again. You're probably not listening to this show. That's okay. Not for
Your goal's
everybody.
probably
Can't.
different though, right? Like the
Yeah,
goal is different than in that sense.
and I would argue you're doing your clients a disservice, and you're doing
Yeah.
yourself a disservice for sure. Um, so I like that idea, and I we were talking before the show, kind of in line with that thinking. I think that your open mindedness is kind of a litmus test for if you are a systems based thinker or not,
Mhm.
right? So similar to what you said at the end there, the ability to take the principles from a different method or take aspects of a different method that's uniquely useful for you and your circumstances and discard the rest is the hallmark of a systems based thinker. I can take other pieces, pull it in, and then apply it to either myself or others. And maybe some of the stuff is like, hey, this might be useful in the future, potentially. And
Yeah.
some of the stuff is like, this will never be useful at any point in my life.
Sure.
And that's okay. Versus saying, this method is different than mine, useless. I don't even need to see it, right? Like it's just not my thing. That's just not for me. Useless. I'm not gonna do. I would never do that way, right? But are you at least open enough to hear out someone's side and make a logical, rational conclusion about aspects of it, right? So you can see the parts through the whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're contrarian by nature, right? We as humans, and like
Mm.
you as young Phil,
Yeah.
like we're black sheep, so I might even be even more of a black sheep and just like fuck everything else. And I think we tend to run with that thought process,
Yeah.
good or bad. And some of us, may run with that thought process in different ways, and it's hard. It's hard to see the other side of things. It's hard to really view others' thoughts, especially when there's like an identity attack
Mm-hmm.
involved. Like for example, the message. There's like a quote somewhere where they say the messenger and the message is hard to decipher.
Mm.
Where if whoever is saying a, a message that like even if that message is completely 100% right,
Mm.
if you don't value or if you don't have respect from the messenger itself, you're going to be contrarian and like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever he said is new information to me, but like that dude is an asshole and that stuff is wrong.
Bro. That's like you kept telling me the other day how much you hate Andrew Huberman. You keep talking shit on him, and I was like, "Whoa, JT, chill. You're talking a lot of shit on Huberman." I'm like, "Chill out, bro." But yeah, so it's probably hard for you to
Leave
listen.
Hubie alone, bro.
That's probably it.
Leave Hubie alone.
Oh, that poor man. He made a mistake talking about low back pain. He's getting slammed. I don't don't come over here, Huberman. Don't come into our space.
No,
It's not safe over here.
you're
This is not
welcome.
a fun place. This is not a
You're
fun
welcome
place
over
to
here.
be.
You're welcome in our
You
show.
get slammed, bro. You get slammed. Um, out here talking about bird dogs. Get away from me. But
Oh my
oh my
gosh.
goodness. But oh man, that's so true. And the opposite's true. So like the promiscuous expertise thing, like with I think about someone I love, like in the hypertrophy space. So I don't read a ton of hypertrophy research anymore, but I love Dr. Mike Israetel. Like I love his humor. I think he's brilliant. I love a lot of the work he's done. I love his company that he works for, Renaissance Periodization. I love the work they do. So you get to a point where you export your critical thinking to a certain extent because you have to, because it's hard to be critical, like actually critical, and fact check everything all the time, right? So it's like, yo, he said this was right, so this must be right too, and this must be right too, and this must be right too. That's like the opposite end of the spectrum of like, yo, this guy sucks, so I don't even want to hear what he has to say about
Yeah.
their particular training method, where
Sure.
the method might be garbage, or you might not like the way the message is said. And that's something you constantly challenge me with for the better, even though in the moment I get annoyed. But it's definitely for the better to be like, all right, you're like, take a step back. Is there anything in there of value? And
Yeah.
sometimes there's not. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there's a ton. Right. And that's what I think, like, being genuinely open-minded, being curious, being a critical thinker actually is. But now I guess the question is, all right, this is all well and good and sweet and philosophical, which, we both like to get. I guess you more than me, but we both like to get down.
Get
But
out.
why do coaches need to be more open-minded, right? Like, what is the value prop for, there I go. That was the most corporate thing I've ever said. I'm gonna cut that. Cut that shit out of here. Cut it.
What's the value proposition?
Cut
What's
it.
our
Cut it.
OKRs here?
Cut it. Cut it. We're not doing value props. What is damn it.
It's all right. Can't
Oh
separate. You can't
man.
separate corporate Phil here.
30's hitting hard.
This is blended in here.
30's throwing haymakers at me. What is the rationale for why a coach should become or try to become more open-minded? Get outside of the comfort zone.
It's tough for me. I'm gonna go on the other side of that coin of like, don't be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Be as closed-minded as you can. Where will that get you, right? And if you do that, you're gonna see the lack of opportunities, I guess you could say, that comes with that. Where if you are open-minded, it presents opportunities, whether you take them or not. So when,
Yeah.
as a coach, if the goal is to get better as a coach, I think, which everybody has to define as themselves,
Yeah.
are you actually where you want to be in terms of problem solving and helping people? Like, I think as an industry, that's like an overarching goal. Like, we're here to
Yeah.
help people, and every little subsect of that helps people in different ways. But can you actually ask that for yourself of, am I getting better? If not, we have to find a way to get better. Just like we tell our clients all the time, like, are we going to tell them to do a 3x10 bench press forever? Probably get better at the beginning and be good at it. But
Yeah.
at some point, there's a certain stimulus effect where it just plateaus, and that's okay. If their goal is to just do 3x10 bench press forever, okay.
Yeah.
But it's probably a bigger goal of that, where they want to increase strength from a all-encompassing, human body standpoint. So I think we
Yeah.
have to have that same mindset as a coach now. Like, as a coach, are you getting better? And
Yeah.
if so, like, if not, how do we create that stimulus to get that super compensation to get better? And so
Yeah.
I think we tell our clients, and we always say this, in order to get stronger, all this stuff, we get that point, we get that part of it for some reason, but then we can't take that same concept and place it in our
Mm-hmm.
own career or thought process there.
Yeah. It's hard to take your own medicine. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard. But no,
It is.
I like the idea, I like the concept of inverting the problem, right? Like, what would happen if you weren't open-minded? And I like that you brought up defining what becoming a better coach means to you. I like a definition that I stole from our boy Nabil. Go back and listen to Nabil's episode on Instagram at Coach Lamont. But he always talks about being able to solve any problem that he's confronted with. So whether it's Gen Pop athlete, whatever their goal is, whatever, potential pain that they're presenting that's within our scope, whatever like movement limitations they're presenting, whatever goal they're presenting, can I find the best solution for this specific context? Right. And can I get them there in the fastest and most efficient and, while still being ethical way? Right. So I think being open-minded for me and getting outside my comfort zone has allowed me to be even better at that. Right. Because instead of just having like a screwdriver and a hammer, now I have, 10 plus other tools. I can't think of another name of a tool right now. Nail gun, bang. Right. I have all these other tools. Wrench. Hold up. Cooking a little bit with this one. Saw. You know what I'm saying? I got all these other
Good
tools
job.
at
Good
my
job, Phil.
disposal. I know. Whew. You know what I'm saying? Just had to warm up into it a little bit there. But I can solve now instead of being like, all right, hey, you have knee pain? Cool, foam roll it. Right now I can think of a bunch of different questions to ask of like, all right, like how much training have you done recently? We can look at the hip, we can look at the ankle, we can look at all this other stuff and now come up with a couple different courses of action to try. Maybe it is soft tissue, maybe it is rest, maybe it is isos, maybe maybe you just need a little rice. I don't know. Right. I have all these different other strategies that I can try based on the knowledge that I've gained from being open-minded, right, and experiencing new things,
Yeah.
right, and learning more about different systems, be it like movement culture, be it gymnastics, be it the track world, be it the sport, like the actual sport world, like how are teams practicing,
Yeah.
right, and being open to taking in some of those things, and again taking them in from a principles perspective.
Sure. Yeah. Huh. It, and that's the hardest thing to learn as a young coach, where you hear system and principles. I think it's so boring. It's like
Yeah,
it doesn't stick or doesn't resonate to the. And I'm just thinking back as young JT, where like I
yeah,
heard those words before, but then it didn't make sense until now. So hopefully at some point we have a better way to communicate, like of a way to induce meta learning for coaches. Like, hey, there's
yeah,
concepts of everything that you hear, and even from messages that from people that you don't like. And the one of the most challenging skills to get better at is to take the message of whatever you hear and see if it's applicable. If it's not, all right, it's not right. And it's a again, it's one of the most challenging things to really get out of your comfort zone. And just bringing it back to the whole episode itself, you see all these YouTube videos, and as a coach, we have to find a way where it makes sense for us.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. My first recommendation, try to fight the algorithm a little bit. Like I think I don't understand the
Mm,
algorithm, but I know it's going to give you what you like,
yeah,
right? And it's easy to fall into an echo chamber of just like not affirmation or not confirmations of what you already know, but like just kind of hearing a similar message from the same people. You like their style. It's just the same. But like, how can you find something or search for something that's like adjacent to what you like? Right. So maybe if you're a bodybuilder, maybe it is powerlifting. Maybe it is, if you're a powerlifter, maybe it is strongman. Like, let's just start adjacent from something that you like to do and try to seek out more information about that. Right. Like maybe try a program, maybe take a course if there's a course, maybe get a book, maybe get everyone's got a free ebook these days. Like there's no way you can't find a free ebook on a certain topic.
pushing
Like
P
for
coming soon.
Pushing
Pushing P
P
ebook
ebook,
coming soon.
I don't know what it's going to be on yet, but it's going to be absolutely fire. Believe that. But it's for me it was you hear gold medal bodies? They're like sort of they take in from like animal flow, a little bit of movement culture, a little bit of dance, a little bit of gymnastics. Um but I was introduced to them through a colleague who like had gone through one of their programs briefly, and I was like, I never heard of this. And got into it, and then it was like totally outside of my comfort zone, doing a lot of crawling. I do love handstands. Like one of my goals right now is getting a 20-second freestanding handstand without moving. I can walk on my hands pretty well, but it's like the way that they thought about training was so unique and different for me. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a shot and take some principles away from it. Now, would I only, do gymnastics and crawl? No, but I still do a lot of, the movements that they did in their program, and I still like a lot of the principles that they had in their program. Like, I would never have thought of a session or aspects of a session as a practice,
Mm,
right? I would always program sets and reps.
sure.
So now when I'm doing, my handstand work, it's more like play. It's more like
Mm,
exploration. Like, I got 10 minutes. I'm just going to let it rip here and see what happens, right? And maybe it's focusing on kicking up and trying to stabilize. Maybe it's focusing on spending just time on my hands.
hmm
Maybe it's focusing on kicking up from different positions, right? You can put any constraint on it that you want to, but that was a total departure from anything that it had done. It was always like, how can you hold for 3 minutes on the wall? Can you do 100 handstand push-ups? Like, it was always like sets and reps to push performance. Oh,
Yeah.
see what I did there. But now it's like I'm pushing practice. So I'm getting better at a skill. I'm thinking about it as a skill instead of a strength or a hypertrophic stimulus.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
came from them. Not saying that there's not other movement practices that don't do that. Like, there 100% are,
hmm
but I never would have thought of it that way if it wasn't for them. And now it's like
Yeah.
it's brought a different type of joy to training for me, and it's brought a whole new lens to think about skill when I'm programming for other people.
Sure.
Like, can we
Yeah.
just have things that allow people to explore? Is it the warm up? Is it conditioning? Is it games? Like, let's allow for more variability and exploration. And that's something that never would have found its way into my programming if it wasn't for being willing to experience something outside of my comfort zone.
That's big. I think the key there is like being in it for yourself in the way of like how can you just explore?
Yeah.
We got Coach Phil, and then we got Coach Phil just taking this class and just kind of being, let's play around, let's explore, let's learn. What I think of there is like there's a lot of messages everywhere, and it's on us to really find the means to have that message resonate to us. And a lot of it is through experiences, right? A
Mm,
lot of things I've read in books, I've watched in on YouTube videos, but then it wasn't until that point where I actually did the thing and then felt a certain skill or experience from it, where like, oh, that was the message that video or that book was trying to tell me, right? So I think allowing your curiosity to just um, find its way to tie back in the messages of things that you probably heard, or just being a little bit more explorative in your brain, it goes a long way, right? And
yeah.
just to kind of bring us back real quick to being philosophical, this thought's been in my head of um, why we don't like, I think we always ask, like, for me, I'm like, how come that coach is not open-minded, right? And then
Mm,
it got to the point where they are, but it's a matter of how open-minded are they. And for me, I was like, what if I look back for me myself, why didn't I go out of my comfort zone as a young coach,
mm,
right? And it was a matter of me not wanting to be seen as incompetent. Like, I didn't want to do things in my industry to make me feel like I didn't know anything, or like I was brand
mm,
new, and there's a part of ego within that. But for if we could all agree that the human body is complex as hell, like there's complexities that we can't even answer, like
yeah.
how the brain works or how our metabolism works,
Literally.
then for me what made sense was, if I want to be competent, I have to have more questions than I have answers, knowing that the complexity of like our industry, there's just, you can't have all the answers. So then, okay, let me just get more questions. And how do you get
Yeah.
more questions? Get out of your comfort zone. You ask more questions, and then you get answers from that, and then you get more answers
Yeah.
or questions from there. So I think we have to understand like where we are in that sense of
Hmm.
getting out of your comfort zone, and what are the things that you're doing currently to get better.
That's a bar.
It's bar.
That's the absolute bar.
And I don't know, it's just it's an interesting thing to really look back on, and I'm trying to do my best, like to be
Yeah.
aware of where I'm at now, and because I'm sure there's blind spots that, oh shit, okay, I forgot I'm not being as open minded as I thought I was in that thing,
Yeah.
and it's a matter of talking to different people, talking to you, talking to different coaches, and expose me a little bit because I want to get better. That's my main goal, and if
Yeah.
that's the goal, then okay, I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone. Like for example, one more example I have is the whole virtual fitness thing.
Mm.
During COVID, or you know that was the only
JT
thing
on
we
cam.
had. Till this day, I hate being in front of a camera. Even right now, like if I had another choice, I would not do it. And then during
You've
COVID,
done so, for the listeners who don't know, JT's done so much. He's done so much camera work, like studio quality camera work. But continue.
and that's the reason. Like I wanted to learn the skill sets and improve upon that.
Mm.
And there was no 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I first started, there was no way you would have asked me and said, "Hey, do you want to teach in virtual?" Like no, but I thought like there's skills within that. Okay,
Hmm.
if I don't like it, then that's a different reason. But if I'm trying to get better, I'm gonna get some skills from it, right? And then that just started to compound over time, and like you just get better at it of getting out of your comfort zone.
So you're saying you like during the pandemic, knowing that like you had to, like there was no other option, right? We had to go virtual. We had to do things on camera. But you're saying that you like pushed yourself into it even further. Like you're like, I'm going all in on this because it makes me uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because of the growth potential.
hmm And there's things that you have to take a step back. I'm like, okay, what are the skills that you can actually get from this, or what are the things that you can learn from this?
Yeah.
And for me, it was I know there's a lot of skills that I lack, which
Yeah.
is being in front of the camera. So I'm like, okay, I gotta do it.
So
Because if I don't,
it was like a
I won't have
calculated
it.
decision. It wasn't like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
like you're like fuck it, camera work.
Let's go. So no, it's a matter of if it ties into the goal of getting better. There's skills that I wanted to get from being in front of the camera, which led me to here. I mean, like I said, I'm still not as comfortable in being in front
Yeah.
of the camera, but I'm a little bit more quote unquote comfortable with being uncomfortable. Where I'm like, okay, the
Yeah.
goal is not for me to get comfortable. It's can I share some learning, some messages across the, whoever listens. And that's the main goal I'm trying to achieve
Yeah.
here, right?
No, I'm right there with you. Like, I mean, I hate. I mean, I used to hate sharing my ideas on social media, or to a certain degree, like sharing my ideas to the world. Like, there's so many things I've written, whether it's posts or like a Instagram post, an article, videos I've made that are just like live on a file on my computer because I was always just like, what do people hate it? What do people think it stinks, right? And this show for me has been like, again, a calculated decision to step outside of my comfort zone, knowing that one of the best ways to one, identify if you know a topic well enough, and two, get better at it, is to teach it,
Yeah.
right? And the second we start doing our show notes, there's been multiple times where I've been like, yeah, I don't know enough about that. I don't think we
hmm
should do this topic. I don't know enough about this right now. I think we need to bring someone in for this. But then there's been other times where it's like, damn, like that was a really great conversation. Like we were both flowing. Like I think we made some great points. Hopefully the audience walks away. And there's definitely been validated moments. People like, yo, I love this episode. I love that episode. Like, that really resonated with me. And again, it's like, proving to yourself that you know a topic well, like well
Sure.
enough to speak on it to a certain level. And not only, again, if I never would have stepped out the house and put stuff out in the world, I never would have truly known that.
hmm
Right. It takes getting out of your comfort zone to grow. And now I'm at the point where it's like, we just be saying whatever on here. Uh like especially
Yeah.
especially like personal life related stuff. We just be saying whatever. and it feels way more comfortable. It's way more authentic. It's way more organic because we're building and improving and growing.
Yeah, 100%. And like to go back to what I mentioned, a lot of us don't get out of our comfort zone because we don't want to look or feel incompetent.
Yeah.
Okay, like let's take it to that scenario. Like, okay, what if people do think you're incompetent? Now what?
Yeah. No one's gonna care that you're bad at Pilates or what. No one's gonna
Yeah.
care that you suck at soccer at 35 playing for the first time. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't
And
matter.
for me, like as a person on a podcast talking about stuff that I've only been, exposed to for 5+ years. I've been coaching for 10. Like all this stuff is new to me. And like, okay, I want people to think I'm incompetent. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Let me just talk now. So from there, it's just like, okay, I don't really care about that much. So now let me just get better and get out of this comfort zone that, that's holding us back in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's some. I guess you've been dropping bars this one, man.
it's a good topic. I think, it'll tie us in with the whole imposter syndrome
Yeah.
episode where a lot of these similar concepts I think will
Mhm.
tie in. But no, very useful conversation even for me to just talk about, and hopefully one or a few coaches can resonate from any of these messages and get out of it. Like, go learn, go get better.
Yeah, I think that the biggest things that keep coming to mind, as you said, jumping out to me, is like, go do it. Like, go experience something. Go feel something, right? If you read about it, you think it's cool, do it in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's like a full phase of training, maybe it's just one or two things, maybe it's taking a class, maybe it's trying a new sport or an activity. Like, get out there and do it, right? Go experience it, see how it actually feels, right? And the other thing is, don't be afraid of being a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like, sounds weird to say out loud, but like, no one cares.
Yeah.
Like in reality, no one is judging you if you show up to, whatever class. If you show up to a jiu-jitsu gym for the first time as a rookie, never doing it, like, they were in that same exact position.
Sure. And if they are, then let them. Cares.
Yeah.
Right. And I think on the other side of that coin too, if there's like a list of things that like, well, I would never do that. There's programs I would never do. For me, I would say go do those.
Yeah.
Go try them.
And unless they'll kill you.
Unless they'll kill you, but like we close off. We have this closed off of things that people have said of people we don't respect, and like go look at those again. Try them. I think that would really, really improve your open-minded skill in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Go run a Smolov junior squat cycle.
Run it.
Don't do it. You'll either walk away the strongest you've ever been in your life, or you won't walk away. So get out there. Go get him.
Go get him. Go get him, Tiger.
Go get him, sport. All right. Let's land this plane. JT, this was good. Where can the people find you?
On IG, Coach JT.mp3, and also on Threads. I say a lot of weird stuff on there, so hit me up.
That boy be threatening. Tap in with him. He'd be threatening. You can find me on IG at Nashville. You can find the show on Instagram, Threads, YouTube at Pushin Performance. No G. As always, if you're rocking with the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and a kind, loving review for the boys. Share with a friend, share with a colleague, anyone that you think could level up from listening. And JT mentioned the Imposter Syndrome show. That's definitely coming down the pipeline. Super excited to talk about that, share some experiences, hopefully do that topic justice, because it's a big topic, I know, especially in our industry. But with that said, that's all we got for today. We'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.
Put my